tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is designer Richard Tyler and jeweler actress Nancy Dobbs Owen. Fashion designer Richard Tyler was born and raised in Australia, where at the age of 18 he opened his first clothing boutique. What did a young boy know about clothing, Richard?
That's true, 18. I thought I knew everything at 18, but at my age now, maybe I still don't know everything. No, my mother was a couturier in Australia, and she made clothing for the ballet. And so as a child, I was around, and she made clothing for the opera and the ballet. So as a child, I was around ballerinas and opera singers and that. So that's really how I got into it.
Did you help work backstage? Were you sewing them together as they ran out?
My sisters and I, and actually we all helped my mother do all the hand finishing and everything. My mother used to make beautiful wedding gowns, and I was always, she'd be still sewing. I remember, like, a couple hours before the wedding, and she'd still be sewing it, and I'll be on the other end, sewing it.
So you started at a very young age.
Really young. That's all I can remember was, playing with my dad with sports, cricket and things, but sewing. Yeah.
But it didn't. Nobody was making fun of you, your schoolmates, that kind of thing.
They wouldn't dare.
That's what I like to hear. Did you go to design school then?
No. My mother taught me everything. So and also I come from Sunshine, which is in the western suburbs of Melbourne, which is like a real sort of redneck area actually, and it was to be into clothing at that time, but I don't know. I never really got any flack about it, and I always loved it.
What were you selling at age 18? Were you designing yourself?
No, not at 18. Back in those days it was a little bit even earlier. I was making a few dollars, a few bob shillings back in those days. It was back in the Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley days. So I used to peg wide leg pants.
So you were making that?
I was narrowing them.
Oh, so you were going the opposite.
I was going.
So you were starting your own trend that way.
Yeah, it was fun, and that's really how I started. And then we opened our first store. I opened my first store when I was 18, like I said, with my mum was sewing it and I was designing it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Did you dream of going to Paris? Did the two of you think, oh, we'll go to Paris and be couturiers?
I was just happy to have a living, make a living. So I wasn't really, my aspirations weren't really, but I really admired, especially then, was Yves Saint Laurent.
So you were,
yeah,
you knew about them, it just wasn't.
I read about them, I read about magazines, and it was, being in Australia, it really wasn't that much about fashion. Fashion really wasn't like on the, I think it was, but, I was fascinated by Balenciaga and Yves Saint Laurent and all the designers, a little bit later Courage.
But what was happening in Australia was rock and roll. And 1978, did you come here to do some rock and roll clothes?
I did, actually.
I think that's when I met you.
We met in 78.
I know.
I first came here in 78, and we met at an Andy Warhol party, actually.
I know we did.
And you were best friends with Zandra Rhodes, and I was like, Zandra Rhodes.
We were the old ones, huh? Yeah. Compared to you.
No, we're both the same age.
I know, but it was like fabulous. 78, you were doing Rod Stewart.
I started doing Rod Stewart, a lot of rock and roll bands, Diana Ross. I was doing, The Wiz came out, and I was doing clothing for her for the tour.
You did Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John, I did things for, and then, Sharon Osbourne, who's now, big, the Osbournes, she had a band a little bit later called ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. And I started doing, so I started doing touring with them and doing clothing for them.
So
it's
you
it's
were
all rock and roll.
still like backstage at the ballet. You were still sewing up people as you were sending them on stage, I bet.
I did.
Were they ripping their clothes when they came off?
I did Chippendales. They used to rip their clothing off.
You did Chippendales too?
Can you imagine?
No, you've been everywhere. I mean, you
Well,
have
you know what,
really
I
been the
think-
gamut.
I think you have to, especially when you first came to the States and you have to make a living, you have to pay the rent, and so I've done anything that would make ends meet.
Well, when you came in '78, then did you stay?
When we met, I was doing Rod Stewart, and then I stayed for a while, and then I went back to Australia
Oh, you
for a
did
few
go
years.
back. Because I lost track of you.
Yeah, we lost track. I went back to Australia for years, and went to England, and then came back in just before I met about '88, and
In
I
the
met
80s.
and I met Lisa, my wife.
Traficant.
Yeah, Lisa Traficante, and we met at, remember Helena's?
I do, of course.
That club, in Silver Lake?
Yes.
I was about to leave the next day, and I met her at Helena's, and we fell in love, and
And she's your partner now. She's
my
your wife and your
partner,
and the mother of
and the
your
mother,
child.
exactly. So that was sort of fabulous meeting.
In '93, just to show how many places you went after that, you were with Anne Klein. Or you
Worked for Anne Klein for head designer there, and then
And at that time, you got the fashion award, the American Fashion Award,
Right.
'93, '94, and '95.
Right, yeah.
Were you working for her the whole time?
No, I was working for Anne Klein in '93, and then '93, and then I started working for Biblos a little bit. But '93, '94, '95, I think it was '94. We stopped working with her.
And you
with
started
them-
your
with
own
them.
line? Or
Yeah,
you went to
actually,
Biblos?
I still have my own line from, because I opened a store in LA in
I see.
late '80s, and remember Bud Court? Do you remember Bud?
course,
He'd been on
Bud,
the
of
show, and
course.
in
Yeah,
that
I
whole
had-
time.
yeah.
So we were all friends, and we opened this we opened the store in late '80s, Lisa and I, and we've pretty much still been at that same store.
In '96, you got another design as a shoe designer. Another award, not
Yeah.
another design. Another award. How'd you know how to design shoes?
Well, if you design clothing, you want to put the right shoes. So there's nothing more terrifying than you see a great, hopefully a great dress you've designed, and you see these horrid shoes on them. So maybe that's when I got into designing shoes. But we do the shoes with Rossi Moda. They're an incredible company, Italian company out of Venice, and they make beautiful shoes, and they're great to work with.
Well, was that a connection from Biblos? Because
No.
Biblos is Italian, isn't it?
Biblos is Italian, but I was working in Italy a lot anyway.
And with
doing
Biblos, you did men's and womenens, so you
Exactly.
made a change, I guess.
Well, I always did men's.
Oh, you did, of course, but you
Because
did rock
actually when I-
stars.
But always when I first started doing, when we first opened, Lisa and I first opened the store, it was only men's clothing.
I forgot
Yeah.
that.
And then a lot of celebrities were coming into the store and having everything retailored and stuff. So that's where we decided to go into women's. Wasn't until then. Yeah.
And then did you move back east? You
Well,
moved to New York for a period?
We did, but we still always kept our production here. We have a factory. Then we had a place downtown, and but we moved our showroom to New York.
I didn't
So
realize that, but you moved physically to New York too for a period of
We
time.
did. We got a house. We had a showroom in New York, and we physically moved there. But I really love working in Los Angeles. I mean,
Don't
I love,
we?
It's great. I
We
mean, look
love
at
it.
today. You come in, you drive in.
Right.
You drive in. It's so
Right.
beautiful and
It is. It's wonderful. And does it remind you of Australia? Is that one of the
That's
reasons?
really one of the reasons why I settled here. It really felt like home, and the people are sort of more laid back, a little bit more like Australia. The weather, of course.
It's great.
So I
The
think-
other thing, I want to try to go over everything because right now, at this moment in time, you're designing a couture line, a bridal line, a sports line. Did I miss one?
Shoes.
And shoes. Oh, and shoes. So you're
Yeah.
designing four
Yeah.
collections. Let's start with couture. Tell us what that is.
Well, couture is it's total. It's sort of total freedom because you can choose beautiful fabrics, expensive fabrics, and we sell it. Neiman's and Barney's and Saks and different places, and we've been doing that since we launched it mid '90s.
So that's a lot of handwork, a lot of
Labor
intricate-
intensive, expensive,
Expensive.
but beautiful, impeccable work. We have amazing stuff. We make everything. Everything's in-house.
And
We
would
we
you-
don't ship anything out.
Would you do a fashion show with the couture?
Yes, we do fashion show in New York with couture. But then we have a bridal line which is doing incredibly well, which is.
And that's your newest line, isn't it?
Yeah, we just launched a new line called Tyler, which is less expensive.
Let's talk about bridal. Because
yeah.
do you do commission work, or do you have a rack of bridal clothes?
No, we have we do a line. We just showed, what was it, last month, I think? Last month in New York, in Bridal Week, and we have an incredible boutique in Barney's in New York, which is so beautiful.
So all the dresses are made. They're in.
We make the samples. They're in the boutique in like the Barney's or the Neiman's or whatever, and the bride will come in and choose a gown, then we make it.
Can she change it? Can you make it to order?
We change it.
A
little bit. We don't like to do that because it gets a little,
But you have the fabrics, the same fabrics that are on your.
Exactly, and Barney's and they're all fabulous and really great to work with. So.
And we talked about Tyler.
Tyler was the one
we've talked about, but Tyler we haven't talked about.
Yeah, that's the new baby. That's our little baby that we just launched in Fashion Week in LA.
And that is young,
sexy, and the price
medium
point
price point.
More low. It's pants, jean like 120 to 220, and jackets are about 270 to 400. Considering couture is like 4,000 a piece, so
that's a good comparison.
Yeah, huge. But then but it still has the cut of Richard Tyler. That couture.
So when you see it,
you
Richard
can still
Tyler's had his hand in it.
Yeah, you can. It's not like night and day.
With couture, I know you have assistants. And with Tyler, you have assistants. Can you use the same people?
I do, same pattern makers.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Pattern makers. But what about the young interns around you? And
I have an assistant designer called Erica Davies, and she used to work for me before in couture, and then she left and she works for a freelance BCBG here in LA, and Max Mara in
So she has
Italy.
a young feel?
She's got a younger, she's out there, and all everybody I surround myself with are younger, so they bring all this sort of young thing.
That's what I was going to say. How do you find the talent? How can you depend on what they're going to bring to you?
I think you have to go by gut. I've always gone by gut feeling, and whenever I've ever hired somebody, first of all, I have to have a great rapport with them. Otherwise, it's never going to work.
Do you interview people, or do you just kind of like see
most
somebody?
of them come in, most of them come in as interns, which is sort of.
Oh, so that's great. From one of the fashion schools?
Otis or Fidham or Santa Monica or whatever.
Oh, so that's a source, which is great.
Incredible source. There's so much talent.
But the thing with someone like you is you go to those schools too, and you help them judge, and you teach.
I do. So you see the talent coming up, and there's, as you know, incredible talent. Every season is coming out of it. And there's incredible new designers in LA. Before
we leave, before you finish, I want to talk about the red carpet, because explain the red carpet. Everybody always says, well, that's for the red carpet.
Well, I think when the first on Julia Roberts was on the Academy Awards, it was, I think, when she was nominated for Pretty Woman, and she wore one of our black sort of coat dresses. And that was the first time anyone's worn, I think, anything to the Academy Awards. And that was like, really, we were on the cover of Women's Wear Daily, and that really was it's really important. I think.
And then do you go after? Did she come to you? Did you?
No, she was buying. She came to our store. She used to just pop into the store and buy. She's just really, easygoing and laid back. And from there, we stylists have picked up. We do Janet Jackson and there's tons and tons of.
I know there's so many, but when they're running out to the red carpet, are you still sewing them up?
Oh, believe me, we've certainly had some in the back of the car sewing. But I think that goes with this industry. I think it's always the last minute.
I think it's so great that you can do it yourself, because you started out doing that, and if need be, you're there to do it.
Although my staff now, they're so incredible, and they say, Rich, I say, I can sew it, let me do it. And they go, no, you're no good.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. You're no good anymore. You've had your day, I think.
Well, I'm glad we didn't ask them, because you wouldn't have come on. We wanted you to be here, Richard. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Richard Tyler, and don't go away. We'll be right back with Nancy Dobbs Owen and some of her jewelry, and to hear about what she's doing. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with jeweler, dancer, singer, actress, and California native Nancy Dobbs Owen. Multi-hyphenated and multi-talented Nancy is active in all aspects of the performing arts. How did you get started in theater?
I loved theater when I was a kid, and I was really shy about it, and when I started dancing I was about 14 and just took off.
Where did you study?
I studied up in San Francisco. I started with, in my hometown with Jane Zabin, and then moved to New York when I was about 18, apprenticed with Joffrey Ballet, danced with some smaller companies, and then,
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was great.
So you were at the point where you could go into a company and actually dance?
Yeah, I certainly did.
Because that's not easy to do.
I was determined. I just loved it. I still love it. I still dance every day.
Do you? You had a dance class?
I'm going at 6 o'clock today.
Where are you going?
I'm going.
You live in San Francisco, so you're going in Los Angeles to dance class.
Yep, conjunctive points in
Oh,
Culver
I know.
City.
Yeah, terrific.
I'm really
Oh,
excited.
great. But they have Russian teachers, right?
They do. I can't pronounce anyone's name.
I won't ask. You starred and produced your own one-woman shows, 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about those.
They were both benefits for the Susan Komen Breast Cancer Foundation.
Oh, from
Yeah.
Texas. Uh-huh.
Yeah, my aunt died of breast cancer, so it's, it's a...
So they were not autobiographical.
Oh, no. They were music, dance. We had a dog. It was very fun.
Oh, they were? Oh.
Yeah.
So you just wrote it,
Um,
and then, or did someone write it with you?
I have a coach that works with me. She directs and coaches me, and we just put together kind of like a review, but with a storyline for both of them.
And you've done some TV and some commercials.
Yep.
And do we know you from any commercials?
I did one for Housing and Urban Development. That one ran for quite a long time. Bought me a car, moved me.
Isn't
Yeah.
that great?
It's amazing. You go out day after day, you know nothing, and then one day they treat you like a princess and you buy a new car.
That's so great.
It's a great business.
So why did you give up commercials?
Oh, give up.
Oh, yeah.
No, haven't given them up.
Wrong thing. You continue to study your acting and
I study.
singing?
I'm releasing my first CD at the end of this summer,
Oh.
so we're still
Are they
mixing
songs from, I'm not going to get into that yet, but you still go to dance. We talked about that.
I was in Phantom of the Opera up in San Francisco for
I
quite a
know
while.
that. When we talk about dance, we talk about big. Who is big to you in dance? That's what I wanted to.
Who is big to me in dance? As just people I watched growing up, there was Baryshnikov, and Susan Jaffe was always big to me. Amanda McCarrow is really beautiful to me. And then, of course, being a San Francisco girl, Joanna Berman is goddess.
So you have the people that you watch, and when you're backstage, when you were doing Phantom, which you did, Phantom of the Opera, which you did in San Francisco,
Yep.
for a year.
Oh, 5 years.
You did?
5 years.
Oh, I thought it was 13 months.
Mm-mm, we ran forever up there.
And you were in it the whole time?
You bet. It was awesome. Awesome experience.
How wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. It opened a million doors. It was fantastic.
Oh, so no wonder you had to do something else, segue into jewelry designing. How did you get Phantom in the first place?
I was actually home. I was living in New York at the time, and I was home visiting, and they held a San Francisco audition. There were 200 girls there. They kept us all day long, cut it down to 2 casts, and I just crossed my fingers and prayed every night until I got the phone call, because I got to dance at home. It was amazing.
How, what were you doing in New York, waiting to go on Broadway?
Exactly. I was going to auditions, pounding the pavement in New York, came home for vacation and got a big job.
Is that great?
It's always the way it works.
That's so perfect. So while in 5 years, you had time to do things backstage, I guess, because you knew your part very well.
Yeah, I was an understudy. I covered Meg, so I learned to sing while I was doing Phantom. I learned to act while I was doing Phantom. I was just a ballerina before that.
It was like school for you
It
then.
was amazing. It was like being paid to go to
How
school.
great.
Exactly. And I started designing jewelry.
And you're wearing some of your jewelry.
This piece is green garnets and opals. It's all on sterling silver. This is my baby's breath.
Oh, great. Hold it up so she can get it. Right
That
in
camera?
this camera, yeah. How did you start learning about stones?
I've been really interested in it. I was always interested in the spiritual elements of stones, and I've always been very
It's like colors and
color,
stones and things.
tactile. I've always drawn and just been a crafty type person, and I love it.
But then, so you just chose the stones that you liked? Is that what happened, or?
I started doing really crystal-y things. Ballerinas love things that sparkle.
Well, so your friends were buying your things off of you, I guess.
Exactly. When I started in Phantom, we did, when you do a show like that, you feel so grateful. We did so much charity work, and so we would hold Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. We did tons of fundraisers for them, and I would make jewelry, sell it backstage, and give the profits to all these charities that we supported through the company.
That was great.
It was really fun.
So what did you have to learn, though? You had to learn about metals, I guess.
I work with sterling silver mostly. I do use some gold occasionally if people ask for it. And it's pretty much just been learn as I go along. I read up a lot on stones. I love them. And
Do you have someone making these for you?
No, I make it all myself.
You do every piece yourself?
Every single piece.
So you have a lot of time backstage.
I work a lot at night.
Do you sell in commercial shops now?
I have about 15 stores up in the Bay Area right now.
Oh, you do?
And I'm looking to
And then
spread
do you
out.
color coordinate with, say, a shop or a boutique? Do
I
they come
love
in?
to do that. I
Do
love
you?
to work with a designer and design a collection just for them. For instance, this whole set is for a bridal shop called Atelier de Modiste in San Francisco.
This one in the middle. And did you make this just? Let's see. Let's pull it out. I'm going to hold it up. Did you make this just for them?
They saw this triple strand and they thought it was a little bit heavy for their brides, so I made them the double strand and the bracelet and the
tell
long
us what
earrings.
it's made.
Those are all semi-precious, not semi-precious, I'm sorry, freshwater pearls, sterling silver. I get the clasp custom designed for me, so each store will have different clasps. You'll notice that one's different from that one.
See. And then the earrings that go with it.
The earrings are pearls and sterling.
So this would be a bridal line. Let's see the one next to you on that side. That looks like the bridesmaids could wear them.
Bridesmaids wear them. This is where I get to play. I love stuff like this, combining
This is great.
rose quartz. This one is morganite and aquamarine. It's a little pinned down so it won't fly all
Oh,
over.
it's fabulous. This one, the colors are so subtle.
It's amazing, and you would think that you would want it on bright silver, and I put it on the dark silver, and it brings out, you know, these witchy, darker elements.
It does. It has a
kinda
different
cool.
color, yeah. And this?
That's opals. I actually bought these opals for my mom's birthday.
And where do you know where to go to buy the stones?
I
or-
have some
or you
secret
may-
suppliers. I love, yeah, I actually, sometimes I'll order them and just see what comes in the mail. I have a great supplier in the East Bay that I work with.
And these, because this is a totally different palette.
Yeah, this is mostly carnelians. This is called hessonite, which is in the garnet family.
Are you always reading books so you know what's going on?
I read a lot, and I have a pretty photographic memory, so I kind of learn it once.
Actress.
Exactly. I get my script down.
But these have little pieces.
Those are little pearls.
That's what's so delicate about it.
Yeah.
These pieces, and on you, they seem to move. And as I was looking at them, I thought this is what a dancer would wear because there's just a little bit of movement.
Everything has to move. Everything
And
has
was
to
it
have life.
inspired?
Yeah, I'm always inspired by dance. I love it. It's my first love. I will always do it, and I think that it makes my stuff have a little bit more life.
Let's go through. I have so many things to show because I think this one is really interesting. This is totally different. This is much fuller.
Those are they're kind of a combination of braiding and macrame and weaving. I made it up, and those are carnelians, green garnets, citrine.
You actually weave them?
Yeah, it's kind of a.
I wish I could show
I was a
them.
hippie child. You know, I grew up in Northern California, did a lot of macrame, and it's sterling
I'm
silver
going to open it
microwave.
because you can see the inside maybe and how you weave the silver
Yeah.
strands together.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But you've
Thank
used
you.
different kinds of stones,
Those
obviously.
are apatite and moonstone.
And here's a little darker one.
That's my favorite stone. It's called labradorite. It's in the spectrolite family.
And you've got a spectrum going through it, don't you?
It's fantastic stone. It's got all this inner life, and it's my favorite.
Fabulous. Do we see your work going into being made commercially?
I'm such a control freak. I love doing it all on my own. At this point, you know, it's all handmade. It's more of a couture line than a mass-marketed jewelry line.
And do you sign these pieces?
I don't. I have actually thought about it and haven't figured it out yet, but I'm working on it.
I'll tell you how you can sign them with a little tag, because you have things that are
Exactly.
just floating around anyway, don't you?
Yeah, my business cards have little fairies on them, and I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that into a tiny little silver tag.
And if you did a wedding, would you do the whole wedding?
I love to do entire weddings.
Have you done that?
I have. I do everything from really traditional, white pearls for the bride, and you know, something tiny for the bridesmaids. A friend of mine got married up in Napa, and I did everyone. It was very earthy, hippie wedding. She was barefoot, and all the bridesmaids had different things.
Different pieces of jewelry?
Yeah, but there was, you know, colors combining it, and she just looked like a fairy. It was wonderful.
So in your spare time, Nancy, what do you do?
I run.
You do? You run, you go to class? No.
I run, I go to class, yeah. I just, you know, it's also inspiring to me that it never feels like work. It's just fun.
Are you up for any other shows, or?
Always crossing my fingers. I've been doing some auditions. It's starting to pick up in San Francisco. It's been a quiet year.
But you would stay in San Francisco for your career?
My
rather
family's
than?
there, so I haven't decided. I was living in New York and then was up there for a while, and there's always the possibility of moving back to New York or moving down to LA.
Well, you're going to keep taking your little jewels. Can you take them in a little pouch with you?
I take them
work?
everywhere.
Can you do it on the airplane?
I do it on the airplane, I do it backstage, I'll do it wherever.
So each piece is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Each piece is unique.
Yep.
Well, you're unique. I'm so glad you came today.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
been
you.
a wonderful experience.
Thank you. And I want to thank Larry Bell and Kiyo Higashi for bringing this beautiful collage that's on our set today. And thank you for watching. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 917. We'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.